Diary of July and August 2023. So July begun rather wet and cold here in the UK, but that didn't stop the beautiful wildflowers. It's so noticeable this time of year, this hue between sort of the pinks to the purples in the hedgerows. Lots of great bay willow herb. Rose bay willow herb. And even some of the leaves have begun to take on this hue too. So Merlin and I decided to take a walk up to our local hill, Town Close Hills, and see if we could find any flowers in that kind of colour up there. And this is what I found and added to my nature journal. So clustered bellflower. I've also done these in previous years as well, and there's also a previous tutorial, possibly last July, where I looked at flowers and their pollinators. So here's a bellflower. Knapweed, covered in pollinators. Every stem was just covered in bees or hoverflies, and I captured those in my nature journal. It's really important to me to capture those relationships between the flowers and insects. Of course, there are always exceptions with this beautiful white bladder campion and quaking grass, which a local friend told me was there and which I'd never seen before, so I did include that in my journal. And here's my outdoor journal that I used while I was walking, and you can see sometimes I put those things into my studio journal, sometimes I don't. It kind of just depends if I'm looking at a theme. Here I just like the idea of using the colours. And I also like adding new things like this toadflax. That's something I hadn't seen before locally, and it's quite an interesting plant. And I also included these beautiful marbled white butterflies. I could have stood and watched them for hours. They're quite a large butterfly, and they're obviously incredibly strong because they were just hanging on to the plants in this quite strong wind. Beautiful. So this hilltop is the largest plateau of magnesium limestone grassland in Yorkshire. So it has quite a diverse range of plants and insects that obviously just love this type of environment. I don't know if it's because of the temperature and the cold and the rain, but it certainly felt like autumn had come a bit early here, and I really noticed some quite distinct colour combinations in nature that were really vibrant. Beautiful orange and greens, and this sort of dusky pink and green, and the rowan berries, this beautiful light orange before they turn red. Mugwort flowers, this lovely silvery grey against the yellow. Notice and choosing colour combinations can be a really good way of honing into what you want to add to your journals and your sketchbooks. So we fast forward, I missed the end of July in the UK to be in France, and we're at the beginning of August. I didn't add much in August, as you know how busy I've been, and you know that's just the way it is sometimes. Quite often August is quiet in my studio journal. I don't always add everything, even though I do keep notes. So we came back to rain and Merlin and just pure joy of getting dirty and wet. But the rain also brings other lovely things that you can notice. These beautiful snails that just seem to be everywhere on the trail. And fast forward 3 weeks and the rowan are just stunning red. They just positively glow from the trees. You can really see why they were seen as a special protective plant. And blackberries just absolutely everywhere this year. We also enjoyed some really lovely evening sunshine. The next things that I added to my studio journal were the things that I spotted near Stubwood. So you may have seen on Instagram that there's a bridge that goes over a railway line, and this is set to be demolished to allow electric trains through. And there's so far no provision for a replacement for humans or for wildlife. It'll be such an important wildlife corridor, as there are no other means to get across the railway. So I took some time and just did some quick sketches of the things that were there, and I've added those to my studio journal. But thankfully, thanks to some lovely local friends that I've met through the Tree Compass project, some people are going to come back with me, and we're going to document the bridge, look at what species are there, and just have a record of it. Even if it's demolished, it'll just feel like we've taken a record of the things that are there. So I'm looking forward to that. Lots of the plants already gone to seed at early August, and I found a wonderful patch of common fleabane. Again, this was absolutely full of pollinators, just jam-packed with pollinators. So that's what I added to my studio journal for August. Hopefully September will be a bit busier and I'll have more time to add to my studio journal, but really just observing and getting outside, that's the most important thing. So I hope you've had a good July and August, and I'll see you next month.